What's up guys, Black Swan's arrival to the game is very soon. I just wanted to go through her full kit that was released and hopefully we can have a better understanding on how she'll work in game, since all I've been hearing is that she'll be a very complex character. Before we dive right into it, as always, please do consider subscribing to the channel, would really mean a lot, and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Alright, Black Swan is a DPS character capable of inflicting the enemy with Arcana through various means. As we know, Arcana is a unique form of DoT specific to Black Swan. Black Swan can trigger various additional effects based on the number of Arcana stacks on the enemy target. So essentially, more Arcana stacks the better as you trigger more effects. The traces now. First up being, after using the skill to hit an enemy that has Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn or Shock, each of these debuffs respectively has a chance of inflicting one extra stack of Arcana. Now that chance of inflicting one extra stack of Arcana would likely be down to the amount of effect hit rate your Black Swan has. So the more you have stacked on Black Swan, the more stacks of Arcana you can land. The second trace is that there is a chance to inflict one extra stack of Arcana when a target enters battle. Every time an enemy target receives DoT during a single attack by an ally, there is a chance for the target to be inflicted with one extra stack of Arcana. There is a limit to the number of Arcana stacks that can be inflicted on the enemy in a single attack. So again, the importance of effect hit rate being stressed, as there is a chance to inflict one stack of Arcana when the target enters battle. Also, every time a target receives DoT during a single attack by an ally would be characters like Sampa and Luca, where their skills are single targets. Not sure if blast attacks are also going to be considered, as you do select one target and the adjacent targets take some damage, so we will have to see how this trace plays out in game. The third trace increases damage dealt by this unit by an amount equal to a certain percentage of effect hit rate up to a limit. Now personally, I'm quite happy with this trace, as it tells me that Black Swan won't just be a mediocre damage dealer that is used more for stacking Arcana and shredding defense. That's the impression I did get from the live stream reveal, so if she can deal some really good damage, it just makes me even more eager to play with her. Again, stressing the importance of effect hit rate, as it is dual scaling. It will increase the amount of damage Black Swan can deal, along with increase the chance of landing stacks of Arcana. The limit on the effect hit rate needed has not officially been confirmed, so we will have to see in game exactly how much we need. Overall, the traces seem very solid. Now moving into the juicier aspects of the kit, kicking off with her technique. At the beginning of the next battle, there is a chance to inflict a stack of Arcana on each enemy. If Arcana is successfully inflicted on any enemy, this effect will be repeated on the effect enemies until it fails to inflict Arcana on any of them. The re-trigger chance of inflicting Arcana will be lowered with each successful Arcana inflicted on the target. I am liking this technique because of two things. One, it's not a one-time and done technique. It has a chance to re-trigger inflicting Arcana not on one but every enemy on the field. Two, there is no limit on the amount of times this technique can re-trigger. So if you build your Black Swan with a ton of effect hit rate, the more of a chance you can keep re-triggering the chance to inflict Arcana stacks on enemies. The chance to re-trigger goes down after every successful infliction of Arcana. The chance it is lowered by has also not been revealed officially, so it could be anything from 25 to 50%. Now this is the first time in going over characters' full kits I won't just be skipping over the basic attack, and with reason. Black Swan's basic attack deals wind damage to a single target with a chance to inflict one stack of Arcana. If the hit target currently has Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn or Shock applied to them, each respectively has a chance to additionally inflict one extra stack of Arcana. So essentially, the basic attack has a chance to inflict a stack of Arcana and then an additional stack based on the debuffs applied to the enemy you hit, meaning you can inflict up to 5 stacks of Arcana. The cherry on top being that this is done without using a skill point. This allows Black Swan to be skill point efficient, which would allow you to mix up team comps to allow more skill point hungry characters to be ran alongside her. If not all, majority of DPS characters, basic attacks are considered to be a waste, as you would want to use a skill instead. This shows how much utility Black Swan really has, along with the possibility of DPS characters from now on having effects on the basic attacks also. And Black Swan is the first to kick it off with 2.0. Now Black Swan's talent. Each enemy target has a certain chance at the start of the turn to be afflicted by a stack of Arcana for every instance of DoT sustained. When afflicted by Arcana, enemy targets will receive Wind DoT at the start of each turn. Each stack of Arcana increases the damage multiplier, which is then reset to 1 stack. There is a limit for the amount of Arcana stacks. So to break this down, at the start of each turn, Black Swan has a chance to inflict a stack of Arcana dependent on the amount of DoTs applied on the enemy. The more stacks of Arcana you apply, the higher the damage multiplier would be for Black Swan's Wind DoT. So running Black Swan with other DoT characters will be essential to apply multiple stacks of Arcana to deal more damage with a Wind DoT. Over 3 stacks inflicts Wind DoT to adjacent enemies and has a chance to inflict 1 stack of Arcana to adjacent enemies. Over 7 stacks, the DoT inflicted this time ignores a certain percentage of defense on both targets and adjacent enemies. Applying stacks of Arcana is relatively easy so far from what we've seen in a kit. It's just much easier to apply them as long as you run her in a DoT team, so I believe the meta team for Black Swan would be a DoT composition. Also, we're not just going to go over the fact that she can shred the defense of 3 enemies when you reach over 7 Arcana stacks, which, as I said, is relatively easy to accomplish, so that is pretty insane. Black Swan's skill deals wind damage to a single enemy and any adjacent targets, so it's a blast skill. At the same time, there is a chance of inflicting 1 stack of Arcana on the target enemy and adjacent targets. There is a chance of reducing the defense of the target enemy and adjacent targets, lasting for a certain number of turns. Okay, so not only does Black Swan's talent provide defense shred on enemies, but so does her skill, and it's on 3 enemies she will be shredding defense. Unlike Pella, where you need to use her ult to defense shred, it's just Black Swan's skill where there's a chance to shred defense for a certain number of turns, and I'm hoping it'll be around 2 to 3 turns, which would make it cracked. In my opinion, this skill alone opens doors for more possible team comps. As I have said, Black Swan would be considered as a secondary DPS as well as a harmony character, as she can support the team in defense shredding enemies. So if you have a crazy hyper carry team for a specific DPS like Jingliu for example, Black Swan can defense shred enemies, allowing Jingliu to use her blast skill to deal a lot more damage to enemies possibly. It may not be the best team for Black Swan, but it could be fun in running a team like that, and I'm sure there would be quite a few players testing out teams. Black Swan's ultimate now applies Epiphany on all enemies for a certain number of turns. Enemies afflicted by Epiphany take more damage in the turn, and their Arcana effect is regarded as wind shear, bleed, burn and shock effects. In addition, when their Arcana effect is triggered at the beginning of the next turn, the Arcana stacks are not reset. The stack non-reset effect can be triggered up to a 1 time in Epiphany's duration, and its charges are replenished when Epiphany is applied again. Deals wind damage to all targets. So simply speaking, every DoT applied to enemies will deal more damage, and those Arcana stacks being regarded as wind shear, bleed, burn and shock would help Black Swan with the conditions she would need to meet with her talent and her basic attack. So just remember, with her basic attack, if the hit target has wind shear, bleed, burn or shock applied to them, each respectively has a chance of additionally inflicting 1 extra stack of Arcana. So Black Swan's ultimate essentially allows her to inflict all 5 stacks of Arcana with just a basic attack. So you wouldn't even need the help of DoT characters applying debuffs when Black Swan pops the ult. So from this, I would think the sooner you pop her ult, the better, as you would activate the buffs and you meet the conditions within her kit. Saying that, any support that can provide energy to characters such as Huohuo or Tingyun even would be great with Black Swan, as in you can of course use the ult sooner. The amount of utility Black Swan is going to be bringing to the team is pretty good, as she will be one hell of a defense shredder and is going to allow DoT to deal more damage. Overall, I am very excited for the release of Black Swan, and you know I'm going to be pulling for her day 1. The way her kit is designed, as much as I say, as quite a few people say, Kafka is essential for DoT compositions, I see Black Swan being just as great on DoT compositions now due to how much he will be bringing to the team. Enabling DoT to deal more damage, defense shred, good damage from herself, skill point efficiency, this character looks simply amazing. Going over the Lyco now, increases the wearer's effect hit rate by 40%. When the wearer deals damage to an enemy inflicted with wind shear, burn shock or bleed, they will individually gain 1 stack of profit. This effect can stack up to 4 times. In a single battle, each type of DoT can generate 1 stack of profit. Every stack of profit increases the wearer's attack by 5%, and the DoT they deal will ignore 7.2% of the target's defense. The rest of the Lycone essentially allows Black Swan's wind DoT to ignore 28.8% of defense and boosts her attack by 20%, making her a serious damage dealer. This Lycone also ties in very nicely with the ult, since if you use the ult and just basic attack, straight away you activate the full effect of the Lycone, as enemies will then have wind shear, burn, bleed and shock applied to them. Of course this would be the best in slot for her, but as always, signature Lycones are not a must. They are nice to have, but don't go out of your way if you can't afford to. I like to believe it's better to have a character than a Lycone, so saving for Acheron might be more important, for me at least. But I might just be inclined to pull for it depending on how early I pull Black Swan. Well, that's that, Black Swan's full kit and Lycone. Overall, she seems like a pretty cracked character that is going to be a lot of fun on DoT compositions and possibly out of DoT compositions. If you have Kafka, I would definitely recommend pulling for her, but even if you don't, pulling for her would still be a good move since you can run her with any DoT character, and as I said, with further testing, she could possibly find some usage outside DoT teams. Well, that wraps it up. If you guys did enjoy the video, please do subscribe to the channel, would extremely appreciate it, and drop a like. Also, comment down if you are looking forward to Black Swan's release or are you somehow skipping her. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.